Bienvenidos, worldwide fans of the planet's hottest entertainment with an edge. This is Jaime En Fuego, welcoming you to my namesake program, Enfuegotainment. You can just call me Fuego for short. And this is a Fresca Fuego review for me of a film that came out way back in 2017. This is from a Dutch director, and it is called Brimstone. Martin, the director of this, he actually had a lot of acclaim over in the Netherlands for a lot of foreign language stuff that he has done, but this is his first American film of sorts. And so yes, it is a few years old right now, but so I guess it's kind of a throwback review of sorts for me, because this is one that when I initially saw the trailers for it, and I think we reacted to it on the horror show at one particular point, I was very intrigued, most notably because I love Westerns, and this one definitely looked like it was going to be borderline whether it could be actually covered on the horror show or not, which was a similar issue with like Bone Tomahawk and with a few others that we have watched over the years. But in hindsight, this probably could have dwelt over there, because this is one of the most horrifying and disturbing films that I have probably ever watched, and it's definitely not for everybody. I mean, it's lengthy, it's about 2.5 hours, it's in 4 different acts, but boy, is it just, it's such a disturbing story, my God. And it received a lot of mixed reviews from Americans over here, because they said that, you know, it was very just cold-hearted and, you know, disturbing and just very depressing, and it is all of those things. And you know, that vibe is kind of, it's interesting how people are gravitating towards it right now with this current culture of, you know, being stuck in our homes and quarantines and all this other craziness from the current situation. But this is another one of those films where it will kind of glass half full kind of thing, because you could always be in so much worse of a situation. You could be trapped like this particular character, our lead character played by Dakota Fanning, becomes in, you know, a couple different instances in this film. And the cast is terrific. Besides Fanning, who everybody knows like really made a name for herself when she was younger, and she has segued into more adult roles over the years, and I think a lot more people point to her younger sister Elle Fanning at this point as far as getting more dramatic work right now. Dakota has had difficulties like shaking that stigma of being such a renowned child actress and stuff, but she's terrific in this. But the rest of the cast is great. The minister, who is kind of our, well, he's definitely our antagonist, and it's made obvious from the trailers that, you know, there's something dark about this man. He has a wolf in sheep's clothing sort of thing, you know, beware of false prophets and all that other stuff. So Guy Pearce is dynamite in this film as well. But you've got the girl who played Kinsey in Lock and Key. You've got Jon Snow, that actor, for God's sake. I mean, it's a very, very talented cast. And yet, once again, this film will not be for everybody. If you don't like period pieces, if you don't like just disturbing family drama, I guess, because that is a big thing about this. If you don't like just religious stuff, because this is very heavy on that, it's not going to be for everybody. This is a film that upset me, and I would imagine would upset a lot of women. It deals with abuse. It deals with you know, just insane religious fanaticism, and I mean, well, just to be one of the few spoilers I want to put out there, it deals with sexual abuse in a very unsettling, upsetting manner, and it's a very graphic film. I mean, not just violence against other people, which you get in spades. I mean, there's one scene in particular where someone is disemboweled, and then their large intestine is wrapped around their neck and almost used to like choke them, but yet they're still alive upon discovery. Not saying who, not going to spoil, but and there's a lot of animal death, which is very grossly depicted. I mean, this is the West, man, so you're out on farms, and, you know, you see, like, pigs getting killed, and, you know, there's some stuff with some sheep, and, I mean, this is not a film for the faint of heart, but if you can endure the ride, it is masterful filmmaking, I have to say. Now, having just watched The House That Jack Built, another Dutch filmmaker who really likes to push people's buttons, in Lars von Trier, it's not It's not quite to his level of nuttiness. Dare I say, this is actually a better, more accessible, straightforward film. And so just to try to give a little bit more story, Lizzie's character, who is played by Dakota Fanning, she is a mute midwife on like the prairie it's a older and western in like western times and stuff like that. And so there's a new reverend preacher, whatever, I'm not sure of the distinguished difference, and I went to Reformed Baptist church, and we had a pastor, so I don't know the distinction between a pastor, a preacher, a reverend. Maybe it was just more generational terminologies or something, but in any event, that character is played by Guy Pearce, and he's brand new to their tiny little settlement, and he shows up, and when she's in church, when she first hears him speak, despite the fact that she's mute, she can't talk, she can still hear, and so she immediately, the sheer look of terror on her face, like she recognizes him from somewhere, and in turn, he recognizes her from somewhere and claims that she has a dark past. And that's what we get in the first act, is really just an escalating situation where there is a child that Dakota is trying to help birth as this midwife, and unfortunately it comes down to the situation of save the mother or save the child, what do you do? And it creates quite a bit of tension with the decision that she decides to make, and with that decision was only God's to make, it was not yours to make, and so on, and some obviously tension with the father. He shows up drunk at the farm/home of Lizzie, her husband Eli, Eli's son, and then their young daughter that the two of them have had together. And so this is a movie that will also be jarring because of some of the time jumping that it does, and jumping between different characters too, because the English actress who plays Kinsey on Lock and Key on Netflix, solid adaptation. I still prefer the Joe Hill comic book, but what are you going to do? I thought Kinsey and Bodhi were both terrific in that. Older Broski not so much, but that's neither here nor there. So we jump from the stuff with Lizzie and this contentiousness with the Reverend to this much younger girl who's like probably 12, 13 years old, played by the Kinsey actress from Lock and Key, and she's out in the middle of nowhere, and this is in our second chapter, and so she is brought and basically sold into sexual servitude at a brothel at this completely different place, total other settlement in like a more developed kind of mining town of sorts, and it's the abuse that she finds herself in, and then it jumps to another timeline, or another time and place, and so the film it might be a little more difficultly accessible for the fact that it does that jumping around, but there is a underlining thread, and the way stuff is so crazily cyclical in this movie, despite the fact that it jarringly does jump around and might be at least initially confusing, once you start to wrap your head around by the third chapter what it's all about, and you've got, I mean, it's very biblical in even what they name the chapters. I mean, there's like Genesis and Exodus and Revelation and Retribution, being the only one that's not a name of one of the four chapters, but the acting is superb in this movie, but damn, is it grisly, gross at times, immensely unsettling, very disturbing, but if you can get past that, it is dare I say, this is a masterwork of filmmaking, albeit of the type that a lot of people will not be able to stomach, and I am glad I watched it at home, because there's graphic sex and graphic violence in this movie, and it's very dark, and there were a few scenes of torture and abuse and stuff that I kind of sped up to the 2x, 4x on my Xbox, because I was like, I know what's going on. I don't need to see these extended scenes of stuff like this going down, but it's very engaging storytelling. Once again, 2.5 hours though, so some may find it a slog, but if you can bear with being the key thing to double down on here, exceptional performances, very intriguing writing, and once again, just the way the dots all start to connect after a while. But boy, did this movie, I was upset after watching this. It took time to process it. I had to talk with my girlfriend about it, and I was like, Yeah, you know that movie I got in the mail from Netflix? Because this is not one that's streaming anywhere. You can VOD it on all of your respective VOD sites, you know, Prime and YouTube and Vudu and all those places like that. But I had to get it in the mail from Netflix because I'm one of the few people on the planet that still gets Netflix in the mail as well as through the streaming. But I was like, yeah, you remember that movie? Really glad I didn't have you watch it with me, because as a woman, your soul would have been crushed watching this movie because of what happens to these two respective characters of Lizzie and Joanna, without spoiling things and stuff, and just even the treatment of women in that time in the world and stuff, and also just that horrible religious stereotype that has kind of been worked past in, you know, decades and generations and stuff, but of the woman being almost like this proverbial concubine, this, you know, subservient, you know, just little nothing, you know, like almost like you are supposed to be here to provide and, you know, just, you know, bust your ass and then give your ass to me afterwards and stuff. It's just such a menial, chauvinistic approach that was so prevalent in that Old Testament, you know, just kind of mentality that, and Guy Pearce's character will chill you to the bone. He is that good in this movie, but what a turn. This is one of the best performances I've ever seen from him. This is up there with, I believe he was in Memento. Really liked him in an underseen other Western movie called Ravenous. That's really damn good. But yeah, this will probably go down in my estimation as one of the best 21st century Westerns that I have ever seen. It's that well made, the costuming, the gore, how it's shot. But Martin, you messed me up with this one, man. You really did. It's something else. But yeah, I've been Jaime En Fuego, and y'all can find more on all social media sectors like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, obviously here on YouTube. The world is a scary place, and I haven't been doing the social media as much on the IGs and the face beesies and stuff, because it's I don't know, I'm just glued to Twitter and reading the news about what's going on in the rest of this world. So, you know, the glass half full mentality of it could always be worse. You know, you could be trapped in sexual servitude in a brothel. You could be, you know, held hostage by an abusive family member or something. These are far worse scenarios that we could be in than stuck in our homes with our streaming services and stuff. So just keep that in mind, everybody. And yes, but lots of other reviews here on this channel. If you want even more reviews of the spectacular variety, you can head over to youtube.com/thehorrorshow channel. That is where we do at least an episode every day, in certain instances too, but this review's over here because we have so much backlog content. We have stuff from like months ago we still haven't even aired because we were filming at a breakneck pace and just stacking content because we filmed every single week on The Horror Show for years and years. And now it's like, oh, well, I mean, since we can't really get together in the proper accord as often or whatever as we would like, we have all kinds of great stuff over there for you to check out. Trailer reactions, film reviews, both of the new and the retro variety, video game let's plays, unboxings, all kinds of coolness there. No convention coverage. Oof, that used to be a big staple of ours, but yeah, it is what it is. And then lastly, on the Willis Greedia YouTube channel, Show Business every Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. CP, the showrunner over there, Lindsay Mimsy from My Two Cents of Nonsense, and then myself and Chauncey K. Robinson are trying to still jump on and assist, but it used to be a box office breakdown kind of show, looking at weekend numbers and making predictions and stuff like that. Hollywood is kind of having to switch gears, and I really struggle to wonder when things can even be back to a slight slice of normality. I'm really skeptical in that regard. So the show is attempting to go on, but make it more of a news show, maybe commentary about previous years of cinema, film, so on. We're trying, guys, we're trying, but yeah, that's another option on Monday evenings for all of you here on the YouTubies. So just to end things for the day, I have been Fuego. Y'all have been awesome, and until the Reel of Ka comes around once more, I shall say hasta luego, Cinemigos, and constant viewers and readers alike, but I'm hopeful that we get to share more of this film palaver sooner rather than later, because we got lots of time for it.